This is going to be a preview of the Ravens-Panthers matchup in Baltimore in Week 11. I'm going to focus this preview, to be honest with you, just on the Panthers offense. I think in order to pull an upset, that this Panthers offense has to figure out a way to get to 24, 27 points. I'm just not sure that they can do that, to be honest with you, even though the three guys on the screen there, to various degrees, have had good moments either against the Ravens or in 2022. I'm really intrigued by Donta Foreman. He's a guy that ran the ball well for the Titans last year. We're going to start this preview with him, to be honest with you. Obviously, most Ravens fans know a whole lot about DJ Moore, the Maryland connection, clearly. Is a great player here from in the state. And then Baker Mayfield, we've got 8 games, I believe, against Baker Mayfield dating back to 2018. So we're quite familiar with him. And it seemed like with Baker Mayfield, the Ravens would generally get one game from him where he was very difficult for us to deal with, and then one game where he was average to below average. That's kind of a generalization, but the stats kind of show that. I think he's got 300-yard games against us. I thought he played well last year in our 16-10 win at home over the Browns, 250 yards, something like that, 1 touchdown, but only like 18 of 38 passing or 18 of 36, something like that. So we're going to start this preview talking about Donta Foreman. Interesting case, man. Took over for Christian McCaffrey once Christian McCaffrey was traded to the 49ers, and he's taken advantage of it. He's only 26 years old. I've got some film of him that I want to show you. I am going to focus this on their offense, like I said, and probably not even going to show really any defense film for the Ravens. I may be able to get out another preview for Sunday morning. Been a busy time here. So Foreman took over for McCaffrey, and he's in 4 games, he's got 3 100-yard games. I feel like it's pretty impressive. He did something like this last year, kind of, with the Titans when Derrick Henry went out and missed a number of games, like the second half of 2021. Foreman had a really good stretch from Week 12 to Week 18. He was 110 for 482, so 4.4 yards per carry, replacing Derrick Henry. Now, we know in that Titans offense, it's a run offense, it's a physical group. So running backs are going to be able to, generate some offense there, no doubt. But this is 2 situations now in a row, limited sample size. I think 7 games last year, and now 4 games this year for Carolina, where Donta Foreman's been able to step in and do a good job. Now, I'm going to talk about a formation that Carolina runs a lot of here soon in the preview, and it's going to be what the Panthers were lined up in here originally. It's pro twins. So this is the pro side, where you got the Z and the tight end, and then pre-motion, when this receiver's back over here, this is your twin side. So pro twins out of 11 personnel is something that Carolina uses a lot of, regardless of who the quarterback is. This year, in his 4 games as a starter, I guess that's what we would consider him, Donta Foreman, 79 carries for 389. And 3 100-yard games and 4 touchdowns. The one outlier in that stretch is the Week 9 road loss to the Bengals, when Foreman had 23 yards on 7 carries. The Bengals just did a fantastic job. You know what I think of their defense. If you're looking for a formula for the Panthers to be competitive or win this game or even just hang around, it has to involve getting Foreman free in the run game often, early and often. Now, having said that, they've played way better at home than they have on the road, so that's a problem for the Panthers because this game's in Baltimore, obviously. Look at their 3 wins. All at home. There's the 22-14 win over the Saints in Week 3. McCaffrey runs for over 100. Laviska Shenault, who's a talented player, he busted loose for like a 66-yard touchdown catch or 67 yards. The Saints also committed 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions by Jameis Winston, and a fumble by Kamara. The Panthers' offense was only able to generate 290 yards in that win and only 12 first downs. And they still won 22-14 because of the turnovers and the big play by Shenault. In Week 7, Panthers' defense was super impressive in a 21-3 win over the Bucs. Tom Brady and them were scoreless in the first half in 5 possessions. They had 29 plays, 122 yards in the first half, and Foreman runs for 118. And then the Ravens turn around and beat the Bucs 27-22 5 days later, right? 4 days later, 5 days later. in a game that really wasn't as competitive as a score, but if you wanted to, compare the scores, I know NFL math doesn't work, but if you wanted to compare the scores, you could create a scenario in your brain where this Panthers team should compete with the Ravens. Now, I'm being a little bit generous there, but Foreman's capable. I like him on stretch. How smooth he is, how smooth he finds the hole, and then the acceleration. He's a talented guy. And they've got two decent, I would say pretty good backup running backs as well. And then their third win, they're coming off a 25-15 home win over the Falcons on Thursday Night Football in Week 10. So roughly a week and a half before this game is going to be played in Baltimore. Panthers have had plenty of rest, time to fix their defensive problems on the road, and those have been significant, for real. They've had, in their last three road games, losses to the Bengals, Falcons, and the Rams. Panthers have given up 103 points. And only one of those was a defensive touchdown. So it's not like you have, a couple of punt returns for touchdowns, a defensive touchdown. No, they've given up one defensive touchdown. So the Panthers defense has given up more than 30 points per game in the last three road games. There's clear reason for concern if you're a Panthers fan, obviously. At least I would. And then they're going to have to stop the run. And I'm not even discussing that in this video. I have a separate video that I'm hopefully going to be able to push out on how they've defended the run against the Falcons. It's inconsistent. All right, we're going to look at one personnel grouping that they use. We're going to take a look at 6 plays, one personnel grouping of formation, And it's going to be pro twins. And they use this no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's P.J. Walker or Baker Mayfield. So as you get a look at it, you got DJ Moore going in motion across, and he's creating twins, and you'll see all 22 in a moment. And then you got a tight end over here. So this is basically create a 11 personnel group, and they're still creating a 3-man surface to one side of the formation. Sometimes that tight end is down. If it's pro, that's down. And sometimes if it's slot, he's back off the line, so his feet will be a little further back. They love this play. I got it labeled as zone read, but really the guard is pulling. It almost looks like a trap that he cuts back. They run trap. I've got it 3 times, so this is the D tackle that's getting trapped. They're faking the block here. Guy goes to a knee, and they're trying to trap him with the pulling guard. So initially I had this labeled as zone read because it looks like the quarterback is reading something. But then when I got the end zone angle, which is why you really got to have the end zone angle if you're going to try to do any analysis. This is just old school trap is all it is. And then the running back cuts it back for a touchdown. All right, all 22 view. This is flipped from what you just saw. Tight end is on the left. The Z is on the left. That's Chenault. I think this is Moore in the slot here, and then I think this is an X receiver. And it's a screen to Chenault. It's a very short gain, 1-yard gain, I think. He's actually busted this for a touchdown this year. Talented kid. I think he's got 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown, but even the rushing touchdown was on this concept, this play concept, thrown backwards so it counts as a rushing play. And they're going to do this, and then they're going to pull the guard and the tackle, just like we do. And then they're going to give it to the running back, or P.J. Walker's going to read it, or Baker Mayfield's going to read it. Now, I don't think either one of those guys is necessarily a threat to keep it and run, certainly not like our guy. But it's a very similar play concept to what we have. All right, pro twins again. There's the Y, there's the Z, there's the H, and the X. The pro twins is a 2-by-2 formation with the running back, in this case, to the weak side, to the B side, away from the tight end, and it's a screen to Donta Foreman. 28 yards. We've been a lot better against screens this year. We were horrid the last 2 or 3 years. Definitely the last 2 as a Ravens defense. All right. Pro twins again. Tight end to the left. You're going to get, I think, double slants here, and I think this is complete to Terrence Marshall, I believe, out on the outside. Bucks didn't look good in that game and certainly didn't look good 5 days later against us. Zone read down here in the red zone. Although this is I have it labeled zone read. You guys don't see it off screen there. This is actually the same play I showed you, all 22 though. This is that trap play. Like I said, I initially had it labeled as zone read. He's definitely reading something, don't get me wrong, but the blocking scheme is a trap. So really cool, really unique if you ask me. It's very rare to see a read off a trap play, at least in my experience. And then here is the RPO that I've talked about, where you got Chenault going in motion, screens, blocking out on the edge, could throw it out to Chenault or give it. In this case, he gives it, 12-yard gain. Probably doesn't keep it to throw it because he's got a guy running in man. That would be my guess. But that's one formation you can look for pro twins. If I'm able to get out a second preview on this one for Sunday morning, then I'll do a second formation called Ace. And this is that first play again. I'll do a second formation called Ace, and you'll see a little bit of a tendency they have to go play action on second and long. Kind of unique. I got 7 situations where they're going play action on second and long, and I don't have 7 of those for the Ravens. So the biggest personnel problem that the Ravens could have, obviously, is DJ Moore. And regardless of what someone thinks of DJ Moore and his production, you can't deny the talent level, number one. Number two, we're going to have to stop him from the standpoint of he's going to get opportunities. The Panthers clearly think he's their guy. I'm not saying whether he is or is not. I personally think he's very talented. This is a wheel, play action flood wheel. So you're getting the backside receiver, which again I think is Marshall. Whoops. You're getting the backside receiver, which I think is Marshall, running here. Moore running the vertical, and then this guy in motion is running the wheel. Cool concept. Ravens used to run this a lot last year, probably 6 or 8 times. And it's off play action, so you're getting the quarterback an opportunity to throw. Personnel-wise, the biggest threat is DJ Moore, the guy with the most talent. Chenault is talented. Dante Foreman's talented. They think he's their guy. What I mean by that is they're looking for opportunities to get him the ball. Here's one. 3rd and 9, second possession against the Bengals, and they're putting him in the backfield. They're running this little zig route, little choice route over the middle. And that's where Walker was looking first. Now, this is a great find of this tight end coming back to the sideline. But he's looking for Moore first, and for whatever reason, doesn't take it. Looks like they got him bracketed with a corner and then a safety at the second level. And he's able to spin out of pressure. Trey Hendrickson in the backfield. Imagine that. And then a drop. But they're going to look for ways to get more of the football, and they're going to move him around. You saw him in the backfield. Here he is outside, the number 1 receiver. There's a 7-step. I call this levels cross. That's a great catch by Moore along the sideline. I'm 99% sure that was a completed pass. Actually, I know it was. But very rare to see 7-step drop these days. Watch the quarterback from under center. You see it some, don't get me wrong, but you don't see it. Most of the time, you just see it from shotgun, and it's not 7 steps there. And then they're running the 2 crossers, deep crossers here, and Moore's going to catch it right along the sideline. Great play. Simultaneous to that, this is very similar to some Brown stuff. You have levels over here to the far side of the field. Unbelievable throw. Like I said, they move him around. So here he is the outside receiver again. This is a touchdown against the Bucs. A great throw and great catch. It's kind of like a sail concept. Baker Mayfield loves this. And with him being the starting quarterback tomorrow, I would look to see this often. We had trouble with this under Wink's defense before. Not this year as well. First touchdown that the Dolphins scored in the 4th quarter, I think, was on a sail concept. Maybe it was flood. Very similar. But they're going to move him around. That's the point. If Marlon's going to be on our right and Marcus Peters is going to be on our left, which is generally what we do, then they might want to move him around some. Put him inside as a slot receiver, put him in motion like you saw earlier. It gets such a weird situation there, quarterback-wise. Like, I'm rooting for a guy like P.J. Walker to get an opportunity and take advantage of it. And then here they are not starting him. All right, so this is a flare wheel. They're making it look like it's going to be the screen that we've talked about a couple of times at a Pro Twins. And DJ Moore was initially making it look like he was blocking. So you're getting running back out into the flats. Moore's going to make it look like he's blocking and then slide out here to the wheel. I think they called this one incomplete. It's a great job by the quarterback of putting it in a location where he could catch it and not throwing it up the sideline where it looks like this DB 35 was peeling would have been able to peel back. So to me, it seems like a pre-snap indicator wherever DJ Moore is about what the concept might be. Here he is, the outside receiver. This is Ace. And again, this is second and long. This is a tendency I mentioned earlier that I've seen. I think I've got 9 possessions saved for the Panthers, maybe 10. And I've seen second and long play action 7 times. Maybe it's 6 times. 20-yard gain. P.J. Walker play action. Great catch. Guy's smooth. You can see why Ravens fans wanted him when he was in the draft, and then why Ravens fans were clamoring to pick him up this year, even though the price tag would have been pretty high. Again, second and long. Under center, Ace, play action. You got a flood concept. So this is very similar to Brown stuff that Baker Mayfield has ran. And I think he should be quite comfortable in this. Incomplete pass. Probably should have been intercepted, right? Again, in the slot, the tight end is the backside X. And they're running an under concept with the X. Pretty poor throw here. It's a pretty poor decision, by the tight end to not even look for the football. I'm not sure what he was looking for. The throw actually hits the tight end right in the shoulder. They go jumbo a lot. So Moore is up there as the X. When I say jumbo, what I mean is you've got a 6th offensive lineman, and now here's I think this is a fullback, 45. So it's a tray formation, but you got a 6 offensive lineman on the field. Little hitch out to Moore. So you can see across multiple games, multiple locations, they're trying to get him the football, in my opinion. Are they going to try to get him the football 15 times? No, he's a receiver, but they're definitely going to try to get him the ball 8, 10, maybe 11, 12 times and see if we can tackle him, see if we can cover him. That's up to you to decide for yourself if you think we can. I think that, in Marlon Humphrey, we've got a guy who's playing at a super high level. So it might be in their best interest to move him away from Marlon. Not saying that Marlon's going to shut him down, but just a fact. Marlon Humphrey's playing super high level this year, and is a guy who I would try to avoid if I was trying to get a playmaker like DJ Moore the best opportunity to make a play. Okay, the biggest wild card in this game clearly is Baker Mayfield. Hasn't done much in 2022. Has played well against the Ravens before. Has had good moments, particularly last year. But we had a vastly different DB group, extremely different defense. This is a totally different situation for him. Whether we're talking about our win at home 16-10 or our win up there, our loss up there when Tyler Huntley played, I think the interceptions or turnovers is going to be the key. You never know which Baker Mayfield's going to show up, even within the course of one game, of the same game. You might get a great throw or two from him, and then you may get some really poor decisions and some missed throws. So let's look at just a little bit of film of him running somewhat similar concepts to what I've showed you with this Panthers offense. A sail concept here on screen. Hopefully you guys got that. Got a streaming laptop and my source laptop, so I'm constantly trying to monitor both. Same concept that we showed you earlier with the Panthers. A sail concept, so like a deeper out by number 2. And then from the backside, you get a third option here. Now, he will go after this route some, though, he being Baker Mayfield. He goes a little bit more than other quarterbacks in the NFL. He will go after that number one route, and I'll show you one example of that here. Obviously, that's Jarvis Landry, who's now on the Saints. I think turnovers, interceptions will be the key for real because I just don't think the Panthers can afford to turn it over. This is a different team that Baker Mayfield's a part of, and it's a different team that he's facing. Somewhat similar concept, except you're not getting it out by number two. He's just settling this down on the hash, probably reading the coverage, and then you get the number three receiver chipping and releasing out to the flats. Even though Baker Mayfield had some good moments against us before, if you look at his overall stat line in 8 games, it's not that good against the Ravens. 58% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So it's not like he's been real productive overall in 8 career games. It's tough for me to imagine a scenario whereby the Panthers stay in the game and like one of two things doesn't happen. Either the running game gets really going for the Panthers and Baker Mayfield plays well and DJ Moore makes some plays. I feel like they need all three of those things to happen with no turnovers. Or at least winning the turnover battle. So maybe they don't turn it over and we turn it over once or twice. Or maybe they turn it over once and we turn it over, God forbid, 3 times. If it's the other way around, if they turn it over, -1 or -2 from their perspective, I'm just not sure how they can hang around. To me, if you're looking for a scenario that they can compete, it's got to be the run game gets going, Baker Mayfield's sharp, and they don't turn the ball over. Because now, having said all that, in terms of insinuating that that's the formula they need to hang around, look, there's been games where the Ravens have clearly outplayed people, but the score differential was closer than we felt like it should have been. But if you get this Baker Mayfield, now there is pressure initially on this mesh concept, don't get me wrong. But this is a ball that should be completed. Ravens running a stunt. I think this is 2020 film. I think this is Judon and Campbell with the switch. So it's mesh. And there's pressure by Calais Campbell off the edge initially. So, yeah, you got a guy who's coming open here to settle into this area right there. But he's worried about Calais Campbell. Fine, cool. Throw the ball now. That should be a completion. That 99 times out of 100, this should be a completion by a Division I quarterback. And you're throwing the ball 10 yards to the tight end. Unless he was throwing it up the sideline. That's the only thing I can think of. And I don't have the end zone angle. It certainly looks like he's putting a lot on it to be throwing it to that guy. I mean, I just can't imagine a scenario where he's throwing it here for this guy and this player's in the way. To me, it looks like he's throwing it to that guy whose feet are on the bottom of the numbers at the 50. I just can't imagine how that ball's incomplete at that point. I know that Calais Campbell was, in his face initially, so I understand. He's got a 6'8", 330-pound guy in front of him. Another one, flood, sail, whatever you want to call it. 3 guys going to the same side. You're going to see this a lot. Chooses to throw the deeper route. Great play by the Bears recovering safety, but look at the underneath route. I mean, I think this is Odell Beckham Jr., so we're talking 2+ years ago. This linebacker or second-level guy is going to check up. Maybe Baker Mayfield, if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, say he's already decided to throw it deep. But, I mean, we're wide open there. Not throwing the football to him. And then you get this version of Baker Mayfield sometimes. It turns the football over when you don't have to. He's wide open again. So that version of Baker Mayfield just cannot show up in Baltimore on Sunday if this Panthers team wants to hang around or pull off the upset. I mean, he can't do that once, let alone twice. And in some of these games, he does do it twice. All right, so getting back to the score differential, look, there's just been too many times where this year where, to me, the Ravens have just clearly been the better team, but the score differential hasn't been representative of the fact of the gameplay, I should say. Some of that might be settling for field goals or not getting field goals. Look, this ball ends up being intercepted by this corner, all right? So you can say, oh, it's kind of random. No, the ball should be intercepted by this linebacker. It's literally thrown right to him. He tips it right here, and then the corner picks it. So it's not like it was bad luck by Baker Mayfield that the ball was tipped. It was thrown literally right to that inside linebacker. All right, look, getting back to my point, the Saints on Monday Night Football, it felt like it should have been a blowout. It felt like it should have been a 4 or 5 touchdown differential. And we only ended up winning by 14 because of the late touchdown. The Patriots game in Week 3, look, we outplayed them. All right, we outplayed the Patriots. And both those games I'm referring to are on the road. But let's not forget, when Marlon gets that interception in the end zone, I think 9-10 minutes left in the game, we're only up 31-26. It was a great play, by Marlon. It was a great play. I had the feeling that our defense was going to be fine, but even still, the ball's thrown in the end zone to Devonta Parker with the chance for them to take the lead, even though we controlled large parts of the game. I just feel like there's been plenty of times where the score differential isn't representing the wide differential in gameplay. Even the Jets win in Week 1. Yeah, it was 21-9, but look, the Jets fumbled on our 22 early in the fourth quarter. They also had a 16-play drive fall short when the running back Carter dropped what should have been a touchdown pass on a 4th and goal from the 6. All 3 of those games, to me, felt like they should have been 3 or 4 touchdown differential games for real. Now, I know the Patriots ended up scoring again. I think we won, 39-26, 24-9 over the Jets. Both of those games being road wins. Shouldn't complain about double-digit wins on the road. I understand that. It's the NFL. But to me, it feels like sometimes the differential is closer than it should be. Having said all that, this one could be the same thing in terms of a 3-touchdown differential, because our defense has leveled up at least twice, hell, 3 times almost since the last time we saw them. We've made a lot of improvements in late game coverage, clearly, since the early losses, including the one on the road to the Giants in Week 6. Then the acquisition of Roquan Smith. That's almost like adding 2 players. You have to add in the return of Tyus Bowser. Maybe David Ojabo plays this week. And then, to me, as big a factor as all of those things is Justin Houston being healthy. If you look at the time period when our defense was not playing well, now granted he did play at home in the loss to the Dolphins in Week 2, but I don't think he played in the loss to the Bills. I don't think he played in the Bengals game. I could be wrong. So Justin Houston has been on a tear. And this Ravens defense is a completely different animal than even the one that played against the Giants in Week 6. Because I don't think Justin Houston played in that game. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Roquan Smith clearly didn't play in that game. Tyus Bowser clearly didn't play in that game. And we've had a lot of late game coverage situations improve drastically lately. I know we gave up 10 points in the last 7.5 minutes to Tom Brady. We were playing softer coverages. In my opinion, we were letting the clock run out. Let me know what you think of this Panthers offense as they attempt to pull off an upset on the road. I tried to highlight, the 3 key guys. I understand their backup running backs are talented too. I understand that Laviska Shenault and Terrence Marshall are talented guys, and they have made plays, particularly Shenault, big play guy. I just feel like these are the 3 guys that have to play well, that have to have an impact in order for this Panthers team to hang around against this Ravens defense, which, let's be honest with you, this Ravens defense is, as I said a moment ago, completely different thing for anyone to deal with at this point in time in 2022. If I have time, I'll get out a second preview that'll be posted up at some point this weekend. I know this one's kind of quick. I wanted to get out something on the Panthers offense. I do have a ton of data in the database indicating to me that they are conservative, and they are using, even with Baker Mayfield, they're using somewhat limited pass concepts in terms of using half-field reads a lot. Half-field reads like flood and sail, where all the receivers end up on one side of the field and leveled, first level, second level, and then a deep option. I think Baker Mayfield is the guy who's going to take the deeper option a little more than P.J. Walker if P.J. Walker ends up on the field, although I think he's hurt. It seems to me that they're very conservative now. I know their defense is good. It's not a bad defense at all. I mean, they've got some guys who can play. They had some guys that some certain Ravens fans were interested in acquiring defensively. So let me know what you think of the Panthers offense, what you think of this preview. It's a little quick for a Saturday morning preview, but I had to get up early to try to record this one. If I was to predict something, clearly the all things go well option for the Ravens is we win by 17, 20 points, something like that. But it seems like this year, even when the differential has been large in terms of gameplay, we've given up like late scores to make it look closer score-wise. The Bucs game being one of them, the Saints game being another one. To a lesser extent, the Jets game, but the Jets didn't score. The Jets did score, but they could have scored one or two other times in the fourth quarter, I thought. Maybe one of them was late third quarter. Best case scenario, I think the Ravens' run game is still dominant. We don't turn the ball over, which we've been avoiding lately, I think. Our defense plays well, gets one or maybe even two turnovers itself, and we win this game 35-16, 35-17, something like that. The Panthers defense, as I said, has given up a lot of points on the road. 103 points in their last three road games. So they've struggled mightily to hold offenses down. Worst case scenario, we turn the ball over some. We have trouble matching up with them in terms of their athletes like DJ Moore, Foreman, maybe even Chenault. And they hang around and we have to get a field goal to win this game 24-21. I'm not sure how they score 21 points on our defense unless they come in with a real great game plan and we really struggle or we have some personnel issues. Realistic prediction, I guess, would be we run the ball really well. We turn the ball over once. Maybe we settle for a field goal twice when we should get touchdowns. Instead of 35 points, we end up with 27, and they somehow get to, I don't know why the number 18 is sticking in my head. So, I don't know if that's even realistic. 27-18, 27-17, I guess would be better. That, it's the NFL. It's going to be cold. We haven't been a great cold weather team. We just have not offensively. I'm not worried about Lamar at all. Like, a commentary on something that happened this week, ridiculous. Like, all these reports of him being sick and these people just piling on. What's wrong with the guy's immune system? I don't know about you. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm sick like twice every fall and winter. It's the Mid-Atlantic region. What the hell do you expect? The weather changes drastically. It's like 70 8 days ago, and then it's like 32 yesterday morning when I woke up. Surprise! People have sinus issues, and I mean that's not a problem. That's not difficult for me to fathom. Having said that, that's not what it was. It was the birth of his second child. I mean, like, why are we in this instant reaction culture where we have to judge a 25-year-old person immediately? Or like, it's not the same thing because it's not a Ravens player, and so you may not be sympathetic to it. I saw this thing this morning. I got up real early to record this. Dax Hill, one of the worst first-round picks ever. What the hell is wrong with people? How does that get published? It was Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated. It wasn't a random tweet by some person. Blue check or not. It was a Sports Illustrated link. Of course I didn't click on it. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to justify. Ridiculous. There's this demand, I guess, to have instant analysis. And like, instant analysis is usually crap. Like all those tweets. Was it Thursday? Lamar missed practice with an illness. We sent him home with an illness. They sent him home to be with his kid. Now, I don't know when the child was born. Thankfully the baby looks healthy. But it sounds like to me maybe he was up late, either for the birth of the child or in the hospital. They're waiting for the birth of the child. Maybe the kid was born, maybe the baby was born later that day. Who knows? But the point is, like, he wasn't ill. He wasn't sick. He was celebrating the birth of his child, and it sounds like they sent him home to give him a day for that. I mean, it doesn't sound like illness to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base, but I hate instant analysis. I hate people that have to have the first judgment, and that's the final word, and then they stick to that judgment forever, and they never change their mind, despite other evidence that comes up maybe 12 hours later, or less than that. So, just a little commentary at the end. Forgive my digression. I know certain people, Josh Hoffman, like it when I start ranting. That's just one that never makes sense to me. The demand for instant analysis that is often off base, inaccurate, and just plain immature, like that one. Let me know what you think of this preview, or even my thoughts at the end there. Ways that the Panthers, with the personnel they have offensively, can figure out a way to try to hang around in this game in Week 11 in Baltimore. Appreciate you guys' time.